Hello and welcome to the Forward Academy Maths YouTube channel. This lesson is on prime factor decomposition, or splitting a number into a product of its prime factors. So first of all, what is a prime number? A prime number is a number with exactly two factors. Let's have a look at some examples. First, let's start off with the number 6. So the factors of 6, what numbers can we times together to make 6? Well, we've got 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. So that means the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3 and 6. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 factors, meaning that it is not prime. Not prime. Next, let's look at the number 5. So the number 5 has only got 1 times 5, or 5 times 1, meaning it has the factors 1 and 5, so this is prime. It's a prime number. Let's have a look at the number 1. So 1 can only be written as 1 times 1. That means that its factors are 1 and 1, but we've already written 1 down, so that means it only has one factor. Remember, a prime number has to have exactly two factors, so this is not prime. So all the prime numbers are here in the top left, and we can start to use this process of something called prime factor decomposition to look at a number as a product of its prime factors. Let's have a quick look at the steps. These are in your booklet, so you don't need to write these down. They're all written down for you, but let's go through them one by one. So step 1, start by writing out your number at the top in the middle of the page. So in this case, the example is 420. Step 2, think about two numbers that multiply together to make that number. If it's an even number, then 2 is an obvious one. If it ends in a 0, then you could divide it by 10, but just two numbers that times together to make that number. Writing these down to the sides, connect with straight lines circling any prime numbers. So here are the straight lines, and there is circled 2 because it's prime, as we can see over here in the prime numbers list. It's the only even prime number, and it's the first prime number. Tip: try to divide by a prime number to start with, as this will speed up the process. If you don't divide by a prime number first, then you have arcs going everywhere all the way over here, and it gets a bit messy. So try a prime number first. Also, if your number is even, you can divide it by 2, which is prime. Step 3. Repeat step 2 on the numbers that haven't been circled until the ends of each branch are circled. So here we've done 420 divided by 2 makes 210, which isn't prime. Divided by 2 again makes 105. 2 is prime, 105 isn't, so we need to continue with 105. We're going to divide this one by 5. It ends in a 5, so that's a nice number. How many 5s go to 105? 21. And 21 isn't prime either, so we're going to go down to 3 times 7, which are both prime, and then we stop. Step 4. Write all of the prime numbers together as a multiplication. So the prime numbers are the ones that are in circles. Tip: you can write this as a multiplication with powers. So here we've got 2 from here, times 2, times 3, times 5, times 7. Now it's a good idea to write these down in order. As we've got 2 2's, we can write that as 2 squared times 3 times 5 times 7. Let's have a look at another example, and I'll go through this one with you step by step. So step 1 was write down the number at the top of the page, 180. So I can do this dividing by 2. What do I times by 2 to get to 180? 90. 2 is prime, so I'm going to circle the number 2. I'm going to keep on going from 90 because 90 is not prime. You can check your prime numbers list in your booklet if you want to. So 90, again we can divide by 2. And 2 times 45. 2 is prime. 45 is not prime, so let's go from 45. 45, I can do 5 times 9. 5 is prime. 9 is not. Let's continue from 9. And then 9 is 3 times 3. And they are both prime. Before I go on to the next step, I'm just going to draw your attention to where I've put the numbers. So any prime numbers that I've used, I've gone off to the left here. So it's a nice order going down in this direction. So the last step is to put all these into a multiplication. I'm going to do this in 3 steps rather than 2 steps like in the previous slide. So the first thing I'm going to do is just write them all out. 2 times 2 times 5 times 3 times 3. Now at this point it's a good idea to check that we've got all the numbers. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers here. This is a common mistake that people make in GCSEs. The next thing we're going to do is group these together and make sure they're in order. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And then I'm going to put it in something called index form. So that's where you'd use the little numbers squared, cubed, for example, to make it a lot simpler. So we've got 2 2's, which is 2 squared, times 2 3's, which is 3 squared, times 5. And I know it doesn't look like an answer, but this is your answer. As always, if you do have any issues or you're struggling, then you can either post onto the Microsoft Teams wall or email your teacher directly. All of our email addresses are on the school website.